Hi everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Can you hear me now? Just a quick confirmation if you're able to see the screen and you can hear me as well. If you could mention that in the comment box, it'll be great so that I'll understand that yes, everybody can see me, and then we will start. Perfect. Thank you so much for your comments. Great. All right. So today we are going to discuss about people domain. Uh, Basically, we're trying to understand what people domain is, what type of questions can be framed in the exam from people domain, and how do you respond to that? Okay. While discussing this, I'm trying to ensure that you're able to see some example of scenarios which will help you in understanding how the question is framed in this domain, and it will help you in answering the questions. Okay. So let us start discussing. Just a second, yeah. So first thing first, I hope you have seen this PMI talent triangle. This talent triangle basically says that as a project professional, you should have knowledge and understanding in the ways of working, the power skills, and the business acumen. There are three things that you must have talent in, or that you must know how to, what are the concepts associated with it, what are the mindset associated with it, what does it really mean? So that as a project professional, you can be a complete project professional. That's what PMI talent triangle says. Now, I hope you have also seen the exam content outline and you understand what is going to be there in the PMP exam. So if you try to map this talent triangle with the exam content outline, you will see a one-to-one match directly. Right? So ways of working basically means process domain. The power skills basically means people domain, and business acumen basically means business environment domain. Right? So there are three domains in the PMP exam. It matches exactly with the PMI talent triangle. So basically, if PMI says that as a project professional, you should have knowledge, you should have skills in these three areas, and PMP is a test of project manager, then basically they are testing these three areas itself. Today, we are going to talk about people domain, which basically means you will be tested on some kind of power skills. What are these power skills? See, these are nothing but soft skills. Earlier, it used to be called as soft skills. Everybody was talking about soft skills: communication, leadership, strategic thinking, right? Empathy towards the team. So those are your soft skills, your interpersonal skills. Now, what happens with soft skills is that people start thinking of soft skill as something very soft, not powerful, but it is. All of you know, all are project professionals, so all of you know how important dealing with people, leading the people, working with people is in project. Even if you don't know how to follow the processes, even if you don't follow the processes that PMI talks about or anybody else talks about, you may still be able to manage the project, although not in organized fashion or not in structured fashion, but you'll still be able to manage the project if you have led your team well, because team supports, stakeholder support, vendors will support, management will support, so people will support you in your project. So if you know how to deal with people well, you will be able to manage the projects well as well, right? That's why from soft skills it has now become power skills. So these are your power skills that you should know, and this is what will be tested in the exam. Now in 2023, PMI developed something called Pulse of the Profession. Okay, they conduct these researches and they provide these reports. And in that report, they mentioned that there are four power skills which everybody whom they researched, whom they surveyed, and whom they discussed with, they said that these are the four most important skills for a project professional. Right? So PMI will test you on people domain, People domain is nothing but power skills. And in power skills, there are four power skills that are that are considered to be the most important power skills for a project professional. What are those? Communication, problem solving, collaborative leadership, and strategic thinking. Right? So these are your four power skills. So in this session today, we are going to discuss about these power skills, what these things are, what are the sample scenarios that you might see in the exam, how do you respond to that, what could be a correct answer for that scenario, and what are the good choices and what are the bad choices. My objective is to help you understand when you see the questions, when you see the options, you should be able to understand, is this the correct choice or is this not a correct choice? You should be able to compare, you should be able to eliminate. That's the objective for today for people domain. Right? So these are the four power skills, top four power skills. There are other skills also like adaptability, relationship building, innovative mindset, accountability, empathy, discipline, for purpose orientation, future focused orientation. So there are multiple other power skills also. We are not touching that for today because then it will become a very lengthy session and you're discussing everything. You may not be able to remember the main important points, right? So, although very important, PMI does not say that we will be testing you on these four power skills. But looking at the questions, looking at the responses, looking at the discussions, and looking at what kind of research PMI has been doing, I believe that this is what they are testing. And it's not only what I believe, I have been testing, checking with people who have taken the PMP exam, and this is what they come across. Right? They completely agree 100% that yes, this is what was tested a lot in the PMP exam. Right? So now what we're going to do is we will be discussing on these four power skills one by one. We'll try to understand what those power skill is, just a brief understanding. Then we will discuss the possible scenarios, what you might see in the exam, what type of scenarios can you face. Of course, this it is impossible to write down all the scenarios possible, but some of the possible scenarios so that you come to see a sample scenario and understand it. And then we will see some good versus bad choices so that you can compare what is good and what is bad for the exam. I am hopeful that this will help you in preparing for the exam in the best way possible. All right. So let's start with the first one first, communication. Before I talk about communication, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, if you have anything in mind, you can mention in the comment box and then we will start. Okay. Just 1 minute break. Please mention in the comment and then we'll start talking about communication. Just waiting for the comments and then we will start. All right. So if there's nothing, then let us start. Let us start talking about communication. What is communication? Everyone understands what communication is. What I have done is I have listed down few of the important points related directly to PMP exam. Okay. So communication is the ability to exchange information effectively. Exchange means there would be a sender who would be sending the information. There would be a receiver who would be receiving the information. So we are exchanging the information. Right? If you do it effectively, which means you have done a good communication. Now, uh, most of us already know most of the project fails because of lack of communication. So if we exchange information well, chances are that our project would be successful. Right? So communication is the ability to exchange information effectively. It also incorporates active listening, understanding the stakeholder needs, adapting to the different audiences, right? Trying to understand that there would be a junior person, there would be a senior person, there is somebody in supplier side, there's somebody somewhere else, right? So there are different audiences. And when I'm sharing the information with these different audiences, then I must know how to share what type of information with whom so that we can exchange the information effectively. Right? So adapting the messaging is a very important skill for communication. We need to understand that. We must also understand that whenever we are trying to communicate, whenever we are trying to collaborate, our responsibility as a project manager is to facilitate that understanding. Right? So we will be facilitating. Facilitating very simply means that providing the facility to ensure that it happens. Right? So facilitating the understanding, ensuring that whenever the communication happens, whenever the meeting happens, whenever the discussion happens, everybody understands it and everybody is aligned. Right? So as a product manager, our job is to facilitate this understanding and alignment. Also, a good communication builds trust. And when the communication is proper, people are engaged in the project. Engaged in the project means they are involved. They want to understand what is happening in the project. They want to support you. They want to help you. Right? So communication basically is the ability to exchange the information, listen actively, understand the needs of stakeholders, adapting your messaging to different audiences, ensuring that everybody understands and everybody is aligned so that there is a trust and engagement in the project. Right? Very simply, this is what communication is. Even if you think communication is exchange of information, somebody will be sending information, somebody will be receiving information, it is fine. It is a good understanding for communication. You don't have to necessarily list down all these points and only then you will understand communication. The reason I have listed all these things down is just it adds meaning to the discussion. It adds meaning to your understanding of communication from the PMP exam perspective. We all know what communication is, but what is communication from the PMP exam perspective? What all things are you going to see? That's what we are going to, that's what we are trying to cover here. All right. So this is what communication is. Ensure that you keep this in mind. Communication means sending information, receiving information, understanding information, whatever was shared, and providing feedback on whatever we have understood. It's not just one of it, it's all four things together. Sending, receiving, understanding, and feedback. Now, from the exam perspective, what are the type of scenarios that you might see from this particular topic of communication? Right? You may see that stakeholder complains that project updates are not helpful. Of course, they'll write it in 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, it will not be directly in these 5, 6 words. Right? But they will say that a project manager is managing a project where the stakeholder is complaining that whatever the update that they're receiving are not helpful. What would you do as a project manager? Right? Very typical scenario. You might see this in exam. So if you see this in exam, of course, what is there in the options would decide what the correct choices are. But typically, a possible correct response could be that I would review stakeholder communication requirements. See, stakeholders are complaining that these updates are not helpful. So I will try to understand, okay, what were their requirements? Are we meeting their requirements? Is it that something we are sharing which is completely different from the requirement? So I would first look at my communication management plan, look at my list of requirements, and I'll try to first review the communication requirements. And then, very important, I would discuss the expectations with stakeholders before taking any decision. Right? That I would change the meeting timings. I would call this person for a meeting. I will not call this person meeting. I'll start sending this information. I'll not send this information. There will be multiple options. Before selecting any action points that a project manager should send information, send more information, send change information, change the plan, change this. Before carrying out any action, the project manager should review what was the requirement and then discuss that requirement with the stakeholders. See, if the stakeholder is complaining that their updates are not helpful, then you need to understand why the updates are not helpful. Is it that their expectation is wrong? Is it that their requirement is wrong? Is it our understanding is wrong? Or maybe our understanding is fine, their requirement is fine, but whatever we are sharing is not correct. So you have to understand as a project professional, as a project manager, that there could be multiple reasons because of which stakeholder might complain. Right? And hence, any option that you see changing the plan, changing the communication, adding extra communication might not be a correct choice. Because first you need to understand why the stakeholder is complaining whatever they're complaining about. And in this case, it is about update. In any other case, it could be anything else. They could complain about schedule, they could complain about scope, they could complain about anything. Whenever stakeholder or anybody else is complaining about something, the first thing I need to understand is, okay, what was the requirement that we captured? Are we aligned to the requirements or not? And then discuss. Okay, hey, this is what my understanding is. Why do you think that it is not helpful? And then discuss and try to solve the problem. Right? So you may see this one as a scenario in the exam. Right? Second, team members interpret requirements differently. You might see that there could be some conflict, there could be some difference of opinion, or the two members do not understand the requirement properly. Requirement was shared, it was discussed, but both the team members understood it differently, and it happens. It's communication. There will always be a gap in understanding whatever was said. Right? If you see that it's happening, please don't blame. Never ever blame, in at least in PMP certificate exam. Right? See, currently we are focused on PMP exam. That's why I'm talking about exam only. Right? Otherwise, a lot of things are to be discussed for project management. But do not blame anybody. Right? What you need to do is you need to understand that yes, these two members have understood the requirements differently, which means first I need to clarify the requirements. And how would I do that? The best thing is bring people, right? Collaborate. In the next 40-45 minutes, I'm going to use this collaboration, bring people together at least 20-25 times. It is so important, right? So what is happening here? Two people do not understand the requirements, or they understand the requirement differently. What will you do? Call both of them, go into a meeting room, discuss, hey, what do you understand? Hey, what do you understand? You also understand what it is. Together, decide what the thing was, right? Build clarity by discussing between the team members. Right? Another scenario, people might disagree on something. There could be some conflict between the team members. Whenever there is a conflict, very simple, facilitate the communication. See, it has gone to a level of disagreement. The first level is difference of opinion. Difference of opinion means I think A, the other person thinks B. Disagreement means I don't agree with B. The other person doesn't agree with A. So it has gone to the second level of conflict. You should know all the five levels of conflict for the exam. So it has gone to the second level of conflict, which means the project manager now needs to be involved. Right? So you facilitate the communication. Any option, and keep this in mind for PMP exam, any option that says project manager is involved, helping the team, facilitating, calling out the meeting, bringing on the discussion is generally correct. Right? So if you see that there is a disagreement between people, what you need to do is you need to facilitate communication by bringing the conflicting member together. You may also see a scenario on virtual team members, and you will definitely see, right? See, PMP exam is reflective of what is happening around the world. Right? So around the world, a lot of people are working from home, a lot of people are working remotely. So you will definitely see questions on virtual team members. Right? One of the very common question is the virtual team members are there, people are working from home, and that's why they are disengaged. See, when you are working co-located, when you are working on the same office, in the same place, in the same cubicle, you often meet for lunch, for coffee, for discussions, and you get to connect with one another. Right? It's easier. But when you are working remotely, when people are working from home, right, there is definitely a chance of disengagement. So that will definitely be tested in the exam. So there will be one scenario that will say that virtual team members are disengaged. What will you do? Right? See, what is this? It's a situation. What will I do as a project manager? I will assess the situation. What is the level of disengagement? Who all are disengaged? And then I will try to discuss within the team. What can we do? We'll try to find out a solution. What we'll do? We'll try to increase the collaboration. We'll try to improve the communication channel as may be needed. Right? So first is to assess the situation. What is happening? Why are they disengaged? What is the level of engagement? And what can I do? And then discuss within the team that, hey, we have found that there's a level of disengagement. Let's come together and let's discuss how we can improve the engagement. It's not that, hey, I'm the project manager, you guys are disengaged, this is what we will do. Right? Command and control, directing, telling, dictating things is never a correct choice in PMP exam. Right? So you don't tell them that this is how I will improve the engagement. You say, hey, come together. This is what we have assessed. This is what we have understood. Let's together figure out how we can improve the engagement. With this, what happens is you have empowered the team feels valued, team feels respected, and because team members come from different background, the solution that you will arrive at will be much, much better than the solution that you will provide alone. Okay, so team members are disengaged, assess the situation, discuss, and then try to improve. Okay, there will be options where you have taking actions, increasing collaboration, improving the communication. All those things will be there. But if there is an option assessing the situation, that will come first. Okay. There's one more scenario, which is stakeholder opposes a project change. Right? Very common scenario. You are making a change in the project, and some of the stakeholders are not happy. Right? Organization has decided to move from traditional to agile. Some of the stakeholders are not happy. They are saying that you are not providing value. You are not giving me the schedule. You have not given me the complete WBS and this and that. Right? So whenever there are changes, there will always be resistance. Right? Think about any type of change that you have been part of in your professional life. Was everybody happy about it? No. Right? People are never, it is impossible that 100% of the people associated with that particular work would be happy with the change. There will be some resistance. And if there will be some resistance, you will have to handle that resistance. And as a project professional, if you have to handle that resistance, it becomes a PMP question. Right? So one question is stakeholder opposes a project change. What will you do? You will try to engage with the stakeholders. Right? Before escalating that, hey, this person is not implementing the change, this person is not agreeing to this, management has given this, still this person is not doing that. Right? Before doing all those things, before escalating, before getting into the blame game, right? What we need to do is we need to engage with stakeholders, right? Discuss with them, try to understand their pain areas. Why are they resisting the change? And once you have understood it, definitely you'll be able to help. And then if you're helping, you're continuously doing this, still it is not helping because sometimes people are deliberate, right? They will deliberately not do things. If you have tried everything, the question says that you have tried everything, then and only then you should escalate, right? So you would have already seen multiple options where it says escalate to sponsor, talk to the team members, functional manager, escalate to HR, escalate to management, right? You would escalate only and only if the question very clearly says that you have tried everything. You have discussed, you have conducted a meeting, you have tried multiple times, yet it is not helping. Then you will escalate. Okay. So some 5 scenarios, I think these are very common scenarios that you might see in the exam. Multiple variations of the same scenarios will be seen in the exam. And these are the possible responses. Okay. So the objective is not to list down every possible scenario that you might see in the exam. It is impossible. Nobody can do that. But the objective is to help you understand, okay, this is how the questions will be framed, and this is how I need to answer the question. Okay, that's the objective of showing this table. Now, what I'll do is I'll just quickly look at the comment. We'll see if there are any questions, any doubts, anything. If you have it, please mention in the comment. And then we will look at what do we mean by good choices for communication and what do we mean by bad choices for communication. And with that, communication will be over, and then we'll look at 3 other power skills. Could you please elaborate more today? What should PM do first, next, best, most? See, this is a very typical question that people ask because they'll give you a scenario. Then they'll ask you, what should the project manager do first? What is the next thing to do? What should the project manager do? All these things mean same, right? Whenever they say, what should the project manager do? What should the project manager do next? What should the project manager do first? Or what is the first thing to do? It's always same. They are trying to understand whether you know the sequence of work, right? Then there are some questions where they'll say, what is the best thing for the project manager to do? In such cases, what happens is there are 2 choices which are very similar, which are good choices, but you have to compare and see which one is better. Okay. So when they're asking first thing to do, next thing to do, what should the project manager do? Right? They are trying to understand the sequence. They have already given a scenario. What will happen next? So they'll give you 4 options. One option would be something that will happen next, and other options will happen maybe later. You just have to compare and see which one will happen first. When they're asking you what is the best thing to do, then you will see there are 2 choices you can easily eliminate. There are 2 choices where you have to compare and see which one is better because both are applicable for the given scenario, but you'll have to find which one is better. Okay, that's how you can differentiate the questions. Ultimately, whenever you are solving the question, just try to understand, is this the best thing to do? Can I do this? Is it dependent on anything? If it is not dependent on anything, you can always pick up that choice. I hope I have answered that question, Satisha. Do let me know. Let's move ahead. Okay. So we are talking about communication. So if you see these questions on communication, communication is applicable everywhere throughout the project, right? So you will see questions in the exam. So when you see choices that highlight transparency. Transparency means whatever the management is thinking is known to the project manager. Whatever is known to the project manager is also known to the team. Nobody is hiding anything. That's what transparency is. Right? So any option that promotes transparency would be a good choice. Which option promotes transparency? Calling for a meeting, discussing the problem, discussing the plan, involving people in taking decisions. These are all transparency, right? You are being transparent about the conflicts. You are being transparent about the issues. You are being transparent about the plan because you're discussing it all together, right? And that's why it becomes a correct choice. It becomes a good choice. Any option that talks about engaging stakeholders. Engaging stakeholders does not only mean communicating and talking to them. Engaging also means showing the progress report, discussing the problems with them, discussing the plans with them, trying to understand what they are thinking about the project. That's what means that is what is meant by engaging. It means involving the stakeholders throughout the project. Okay, good choice. Collaboration, bringing people together and then taking decision, bringing people together, then solving problem, bringing people together, then planning for the project, right? Whenever you are bringing people together, facilitating a meeting, conducting a meeting, discussing, calling for a meeting, all these will be the options. These are all good choices, right? Now, that does not mean if there is collaboration, you just put a tick to it. But you know that, okay, this could be a better choice. As a project manager, I should involve people because when I'm involving people, I will get the best decision out of the team. That's why I'm doing it. Any option that suggests face-to-face communication is good because face-to-face communication is the richest form of communication. This is the best way to communicate, right? Imagine that your company is discussing with a customer and it's a big, huge order, maybe 100, $200 million order, or maybe even bigger, if that's not big enough for you. What happens? The salespeople, the sales head, the company head, what do? They travel to the customer's site, right? Can they not do a phone call? Can they not do a video call? Yes, they can. But when you travel, you understand what people are thinking much better because you are meeting face to face. You are able to see the expression, you are able to see the body language, you are able to see what is not, understand what is not said also. Right? That's why face to face communication is the best way of communicating. If it is possible, go for face to face. Out of four options, if face to face is mentioned, that would be the better choice. Right? And any option that talks about facilitated discussion, that as a project manager, you are involved and you are conducting the meeting, you are calling the meeting or leading the meeting. These options are good choices. What would be a bad choice? There is a problem and option says escalate to sponsor. Talk to sponsor, seek guidance from sponsor on what to be done. No, we don't do that. See, as a project manager, I am responsible for execution. Why will I talk to sponsor on guiding me on what should I do? What I should do is I should understand the situation. Maybe the solution that I want to implement has gone beyond the budget, and hence now I would need approval from the sponsor. That's a different thing. But why would I look for guidance? Why would I ask them what should I do? Right? So immediate escalation is always a bad choice. Any option that talks about command and control means you as project manager telling the team what to be done, directing them, dictating them is wrong. One size fits all communication. Any option that says that, okay, we had planned to send WhatsApp message, we had planned to send email to everybody, it's not a good choice. Right? Communication must be customized. See, if there are people who are always at, let's say, construction site, on that construction site, they are not allowed mobile phone. And you keep calling them and you keep sending them WhatsApp message. They will only be able to see at the end of the day, if at all they are not tired enough. Right? So one communication method, one communication tool, one communication channel will not be applicable to all kind of communication. Any option that suggested is not a good choice. Right? Any option that talks about blaming others, absolutely wrong. Never ever blame anyone. Figure out what went wrong, figure out what went wrong in the process. Improve the process rather than blaming the people. Right? If somebody is making a mistake, try to understand why they made a mistake rather than blaming them. Right? Blaming others, if you see in the options, absolutely eliminate it. Right? One very important thing, ignoring concerns or doing nothing. Stakeholder is complaining about something, team member is concerned about something, management is concerned about something, customer is not happy about something, and one of the options says continue the work because you are running late in the project. Right? Yes, we are running late in the project, but we cannot ignore the concerns. Right? So doing nothing or ignoring concern is not a good choice. These are your bad choices. Whenever you see them, know that these are bad choices. See, why I am suggesting you good and bad choices is because ultimately when you're solving the PMP exam questions, you will be comparing and then deciding which one is better. Okay. So if you have this understanding, which I'm sure you have, maybe this serves as a reminder. But if you have this understanding, you will be able to decide better and decide faster. That's why we are discussing this. Right? So that was about communication. The second skill is problem solving. Right? What is problem solving? Very simple. It's an ability to identify the issues, identify the challenges, figure out why it happened, look for alternatives that could solve the problem, make an informed decision that yes, this is the best decision possible, implement that solution, and ensure that you have prevented it from happening again. Problem solving is ensuring that whatever problems that we have faced, we have solved it well, and we have ensured that it does not repeat again. Both the things. So what do you need to do? First, you need to discuss to understand the problem. In PMP exam, they'll give you a scenario. The scenario would be a problem. Project is delayed, project is over budget, customer is not happy, team member has left, management had asked you to change something, and customer saying that no more funding is available. These are your problems that you will see. So when you see the problem and they're asking you, what will you do next? Satisha's question. Right? What should the project manager do next? Right? You will see four options. One option will talk about discussing and understanding the problem. Another option will talk about understanding the impact. And third option will talk about implement the solution. What will you do first? See, even if it looks very logical, right, that we are running behind schedule, hence we need to make changes in our schedule. It's very logical. But it means that you have implemented the solution without carrying out these 4 or 5 steps. I'll talk about the steps. But just understand this. You have jumped the ladder to the 6th position directly. If you are seeing a problem and you say, okay, this is what I will do. Right? Very rarely, maybe 1 or 2 out of 10, PMI would want you to take action. And they'll very clearly mention that. How would you solve the problem? How should the project manager prevent the problem from happening? What is the best way to resolve this problem effectively? Very clear. They are looking for solution. However, if they have given you a problem and they have given you anything what Satisha has mentioned in the comment, what should the project manager do? What should the project manager do next? What is the best thing to do? What is the next best thing to do? Right? All those things basically is trying to understand that are you a project manager who jumps to conclusion, or are you a project manager who goes step by step and ensuring that whatever solution they are implementing is the best solution that they're implementing? Same problem can be solved in 75 ways, even more. Which way you are starting? Right? Think about it. You are preparing for PMP certification exam. There are 100 ways of preparing for PMP certification. Read through the book, go through the research that they have done, attend a training program, go through a recorded videos course, join YouTube channel. Right? There are multiple ways. Which one do you select? Which is the most effective for you? Right? Why have you joined on a weekday evening or afternoon or morning, depending on where you have joined from? Why have you done that? Because you believe that joining live helps me in understanding the most. Right? When people would look at the recorded videos, why will they do that? Because that's their style of working, right? So any problem can be solved in multiple ways. Which way do you choose given the context would decide whether it is effective or not, right? So you will see multiple options. If the option is talking about discuss to understand the problem, that would be the first, right? So how do we solve the problem? First, we understand what the problem is. Then if needed, we need to note down in the issue log that, yeah, this is the problem. Then sit with your team, discuss what could be the impact of this problem. Will it impact the schedule? Will it impact the cost? Will it impact the team's morale? A lot of things, right? So once you have understood the impact, which means you understand how big this problem is, then try to figure out why it happened. Identify the root cause. Once you have understood why it happened, then finding the solution is always better. Many times in the exam, they'll give you a problem and they'll give you a solution directly in three options. One option will talk about identifying the root cause. That will be the better one. Because unless and until you understand why this problem is happening, how would you solve it? Right? Again, same example, PMP certification. You are preparing for PMP certification exam, right? You take a mock exam, you see that your score is not good. You started studying again, a lot, reading through the book, concepts, this and that. Again, you took the exam, same problem, same score. You said, okay, I studied so much, right? Why is it that my score is not improving? Third time, same thing. You are reading the same thing that you already know, right? The problem probably is with the speed. You're always missing 10, 15 questions. That's why your score is not improving, right? So problem is with speed, you are preparing your concepts, right? It may also happen that problem is with mindset, right? Whatever we are discussing today, these are nothing, no concepts, right? We are not discussing tools and techniques. We are not discussing documents. We are discussing mindset. So problem is with mindset. You are not able to decide between the two choices. Which one is better? And what are you doing? You are learning what is retrospective, what is a story point, what is user story, and this and that. What is CPI and SPI? Very favorite topic of everybody. Right? You spend 1 week studying CPI and SPI, you take the exam, and you realize there was no question in the exam. Right? So point here is that if I don't understand why the problem is happening, I'll not be able to solve it properly. Right? So never ever skip to the solution before understanding the root cause. So identify the root cause, discuss what are the possible solutions, decide which solution is the best. Right? Implement that solution. Once you have implemented the solution, don't stop there. Check for effectiveness. Was your solution helpful or not? Right? So when you take a mock exam, your score is less, you started studying, you take the exam again, and you see whether studying more increased your score or not. Right? This is what is check for effectiveness. Was my solution effective? If not, then I need to find a different solution. Maybe I don't understand the root cause. Maybe I understand it wrong. Right? In projects, you check for effectiveness and then you update the records as well. You have created the issue log mentioning that this is the problem that you are facing. Whatever your solution you decide, update on the issue log. Whenever you close the implement the solution, update it. And whenever you check for effectiveness, update it and then close it. That yes, this was the problem. This is the solution. This is what we have implemented. And now this problem has been solved. It must be updated. Otherwise, you have not closed the loop. Right? Closing the loop is a very important skill for product professionals. If you have started something, ensure that it has been closed as well and everybody knows about it. Okay, this is how you solve the problem. You will see a lot of questions where they have given the problem in the exam and then they have asked you what should to do next. It will be one of these steps. Okay, in the same sequence. So you must understand this sequence well. Whatever scenarios you might see, you may see that a critical activity is running behind schedule and may impact the product completion. Right? Very typical scenario. Almost all the products get delayed, right? So this is something that you will face. What will you do? First, you will review the schedule. What was the schedule? Then try to understand why the delay happened and then work with the team to find the solution. Very simple, right? A major defect is found late in the project. What will you do? Again, same thing. Conduct the root cause analysis with the team. Determine what would be the impact before deciding the solution. As you can see, whatever we are discussing as a possible response is nothing but these steps explained in that particular context. Okay. Sprint velocity has decreased significantly over the last 3 iterations. What will you do? Again, discuss. Facilitate a discussion with team, understand why it happened, and then determine what could be done. Right? Two stakeholders request different features that cannot be delivered within the provided constraint. Meet with the stakeholders, understand the priorities, facilitate a discussion, and figure out how we can best support the project. If you look at it this way, you will see that yes, PMP exam is actually simple. I see a problem, I call people. I see problem with schedule, I call people. I see problem with quality, I call people. I see problem with velocity, I call people. I understand why it happened and I solve it. Understand, analyze, take action. Almost all the time. And you start realizing, okay, this is definitely doable, right? So it's a repeatable thing that you can do in PMP certification exam questions. Right? Vendor misses a major milestone. What will you do? Discuss with the vendor. Try to understand why it happened. Why did they miss it? What went wrong? Then try to correct it along with vendor, along with the team members, right? And solve the problem. Right? As you can see, whatever is the scenario, ultimately what you're doing is meeting, discussing the solution, figuring out the solution, and then implementing it. Same thing every time. Right? That's how problem solving. That's why I say problem solving is not easy in real life, but it's easier in PMP certification exam because it's always ultimately the same thing that you do repetitively. Okay. What are some of the good choices? Some of the bad choices? Analyzing the root cause, good choice. Gathering information to understand the product, good choice. Collaborating with team to figure out what could be the solution, good choice. Facilitating the discussions to implement and understand the impact, good choice. Evaluating our alternatives is always a good choice. See, it's like playing chess. Right? You know that there could be one step, one thing that you can move, right? But can there be a better choice? Can there be a better option? Right? So always evaluating what could be a better thing to do is never a bad choice. Okay. What would be bad? Jumping to conclusion. You saw the problem in the question statement. In the option, you saw an action, you saw a solution, you put a tick to it. That is jumping to conclusion. Without analyzing, without gathering information, without discussing with the team, directly deciding the solution. Right? Also, sometimes you will see that an option is talking about project manager getting angry on somebody. Okay, so reacting when we are emotional is not a good thing to do. Right? We need to be emotionally intelligent. So not a good choice. Dictating solution. Many a times you will see project manager is giving the solution. There's a problem, and you will see that option is saying what should the question is saying what should the project manager do, and project manager is providing a solution. Do this. Ask the team to change the plan. Ask the team to do this. Ask the team to do this. Do that. Right? These are all your solution that you are giving. You are dictating the solution. Right? They will not mention that project manager is dictating the solution and you will eliminate it. They will write it very simply that project manager has asked the team to change the plan or ask the team to move this, move that to solve the problem. It's not a good choice. Right? We need to involve the team, discuss, and then decide. Project manager should not decide. Second thing, you might see project manager is asking the sponsor, or the sponsor is saying do this, and we're just doing it. A key stakeholder is saying, asking us to do something, and we're just doing it. This is also dictating solution, right? Whether it is sponsor, whether it is a key stakeholder, whether it's the prime minister or the president of the country, right? And the project manager, right? If somebody is asking me to do something, I would not just submit myself to them and say that, okay, I'll do it. I would need to understand why they are saying what they are saying, what would be the impact on the project. Then, if I think that yes, it will be helpful for the project, then I'll do it. Otherwise, I will not. Right? So just because a sponsor is an expert in risk management, I will not go to them for solution. I would still talk to the team and figure out the solution. Okay. Never assume anything. Don't assume that the sponsor has all the authority, project manager has all the authority, team is always an expert, or don't assume the team is not an expert. Right? There will be a question where they will talk about some legal aspect of it, some financial aspect of it. You may think that my team does not know about legal and finance, but that's not the case. Right? They might know. I don't know. So I'm not assuming. Right? So if the option is saying I'll go with the team to discuss with the legal team, to discuss with finance team, it's a good thing to do. Rather than saying that I'll hire a financial expert or a legal expert, do I really need them? Right? So using assumptions is not a good choice. Don't assume that they know it. Don't assume that they don't know it. Don't assume that it is available. Don't assume that it is not available. If you are not clear, keep it open. Right? If they have not mentioned which approach it is, traditional or agile, what do you do? Do you assume that it is traditional or agile? No, we don't, right? We don't assume anything. We say, okay, this is a very common scenario that can happen in traditional and agile both. Don't fall into the trap of thinking of it as a hybrid question. It's not a hybrid question. It's a scenario that is possible in both traditional and agile approach. Do not think of it as hybrid. Do not think of it as traditional or agile either. Right? If they have not mentioned which approach it is, it doesn't matter. Customer getting angry, team member leaving the project getting delayed, quality not being proper. Does it depend on any approach? No. It's a project scenario. It could happen in traditional, it could happen in agile, it could happen in hybrid. If they have not mentioned it, don't worry about it because it doesn't matter. That's why they have not mentioned it. Right? So please do not use assumptions. It's any option that talks about any assumption is a bad choice. Right? Again, escalating for solution. As a product manager, we need to figure out solution. We don't escalate and say, hey, sponsor, please give me the solution. Right? Any option escalating to sponsor for solution, bad choice. Right? Problem solving is a very, very important area of PMP exam because problems can happen just like communication in any area. Okay. And this will definitely be tested at least 40-50 times in the exam. 40-50 times. It was so important. Okay. Let me take some question before I start talking about collaborative leadership. How to improve speed? See, generally, the reason for not solving questions at the required speed is lack of knowledge. Okay, that you don't know the concept and that's why you are stuck and you're not able to solve it. Or it is lack of understanding. Right? You are reading the question, but you have not understood it, and that's why you are reading it multiple times. If it is lack of concept, try to understand, go through the PMBOK guide, go through Agile practice guide, and try to understand those concepts well. Okay, use ChatGPT, that's the best to understand the concepts. Right? So understand the concept, you will be able to solve it. However, if you are required to read and reread the question multiple times, reading it twice is not a crime. Reading a question twice to understand it is not a crime. But if you are required to read 3 times, 4 times, 5 times to understand the scenario and it is consuming a lot of time, then what you should do is try to take up 60 questions, read through the scenarios, don't solve the question. Read through the scenario and try to write that scenario in 5-6 words in your own language, in your own words. Try to summarize that information. Do it for 60 questions. It will improve your score. All right. Explain that second step again. Yeah, this live will be saved for sure. Right. So you will be able to see it. But what is the second step? If it is step, then this is noting down as issue log. Issue log is a document where you capture all the issues that happens in a project. Okay, so if you have seen that somebody is talking about a problem or you have observed a problem, it's better that you keep a record so that you can keep a track. And when it is closed, you can update the records. Let's talk about collaborative leadership now. Again, if you have any questions, please do mention, everybody. What is collaborative leadership? As the name itself suggests, collaboration means bringing people together. Bring them together, build consensus, have a voting exercise, discuss with them, and ensure that everybody says that, yes, we agree to this, and then take the decision. Facilitate the decision making, empower the teams, listen to everybody, encourage that everybody is participating, everybody is putting their point, and then you are deciding finally. Resolve the conflicts constructively. Right? What do we mean by constructively resolving the conflict? Bringing people together and discussing. Right? Lead through influence rather than authority. Right? Collaborative leadership means you are not using your positional power to say that this is what should happen. You are using your relational power. You are building relationship with people. We are building relationship with team, bringing them together. You are guiding them, supporting them, coaching them, mentoring them. and helping them figure out what should be done. That's what collaborative leadership is. How do we do that? Bring the right people together, right? You don't have to bring everybody together every time. Bring the right people together, facilitate discussions, ensure that everybody is participating, right? When you are discussing and there needs to be a conclusion to be done, a decision to be made, ensure that you reach the consensus. Everybody says that, yes, we agree, and then you take that decision. Whatever decision the team takes, support that decision. And if you think that it is wrong or something else, you discuss at that point of time itself. But once it has been decided, then you need to support the decision. There's a very typical scenario that you might see in the exam, that a team decided that whenever we are stuck, we will vote among ourselves. And if any decision gets more than 70% vote, then we will decide it. Then the actual time came, the decision was to be made, the team decided, it was one decision was taken at 80%, but project manager is not happy with that decision. What should the project manager do? Doesn't matter whether project manager is happy with it or not, or doesn't matter what project manager suggested as a suggestion. If it was decided that whenever we are stuck, we will come together, we will vote, and if a decision gets more than 70% vote, we will implement that. Then it doesn't matter if the project manager is happy or not. What matters is, did we receive more than 70% vote? If yes, then do it. Okay, that's how we support the team decision. Otherwise, what will happen? Every time you are not happy, you have just kicked the rule out of the room. Then why did you decide on the rule? You should have said that if the project manager is happy, only then we'll take the decision. Right? So decisions are to be taken collaboratively. And when the decision is once taken, while taking the decision, discuss everything that you want. Talk about all the disappointments, disagreement, difference of opinion, everything. But once the decision is taken after discussion and collaboration, support the team's decision. Okay? And escalate only when necessary. We have been talking about this multiple times. What type of scenarios you might see for collaborative leadership? Okay. Two senior engineers disagree on a technical approach. This disagreement is slowing down the progress. What will you do? By now, it should automatically come to your mind. I will bring both the senior engineers together. I will facilitate the meeting because it's a disagreement. And then I'll try to figure out why this disagreement happened and discuss to find the best solution. Right? At the cost of repeating myself, I am providing you different scenarios to help you understand how mindset works. The mindset is, I'll bring people together, discuss and decide the solution. This is probably the 11th scenario that we are talking about. Right? In out of 11, I think 6 or 5 times we have done the same thing, or maybe even more. Right? That's how important it is. Team members complain that PM is assigning all the work. What will you do? Work with the team to establish a self-organizing approach, task selection and planning. Now, it could be PM, it could be senior manager, it could be a senior lead in the team, right? What is meant here is that within the team, somebody else is assigning all the work. What should happen? We should build a self-organizing approach where people come together, they discuss and they distribute the task among themselves. Okay. Two key stakeholders want different project outcomes. Okay, what will I do? I'll call them together, understand the priority, and then support whatever is best for the project, whatever is best for the organization. Team is becoming disengaged and motivation is declining. People are not happy with the work. What will I do? I'll again call for a meeting, discuss what the concern is, and decide the improvement action. A team member is struggling to perform the assigned work. What will I do? I'll coach them, I'll guide them, I'll mentor them, I'll discuss with them, I'll try to support them. That's what collaborative leadership is, right? You don't punish people immediately. You don't escalate immediately. You don't jump to conclusion immediately. You bring people together, you discuss, you understand, and you solve the problem. Right? So what are the good choices? Any choice that talks about empowering the team. Empowering team means ensuring that the team collectively takes decision. Good choice. Coaching individuals whenever they're stuck. There will be one question for sure where you have to guide, mentor, or coach one person who is not happy in the project. Right? Coaching them, good choice. Build consensus. Any option that says that we are bringing people together, Voting, discussing, and then deciding, good choice. Encouraging collective ownership. What is collective ownership? Collective ownership basically means that as a team, we are working together. We fail together, we pass together. That culture is very, very important in project management these days. So, encouraging that collective ownership is a good choice. Removing impediments, one of the servant leader duties, right? As a project manager, you are helping the team solve a problem. Always a good choice, right? Anything that talks about micromanaging, leader telling the team what to do, leader always looking at things to be done, creating a checklist that whenever the team works, first project manager will check and only then we'll move ahead. Bad choice. You trust the team to get the job done. You don't micromanage them, right? Punishing on first information received about a problem. A stakeholder says that your team member is not working properly. You ask the team member to leave the project. Do you do that? No. Right? Sponsor is saying that one team member is not productive. Right? Do you punish them? Do you say that we will not promote you? Do you say that we will not give you responsibilities? No. We try to understand from the sponsor, from the stakeholder, why are you saying whatever you're saying? And then we try to cross check. Is it really what is happening, or is it that sponsor and stakeholder is hallucinating? Or they might be thinking it wrong. They might have seen something else. I need to first validate the problem. I need to first validate the concern, and then I would take action. Right? Punishing on first information received is a bad project management. Right? Dictating, telling the team members every time what is to be done. Any option that says question will be what is the project manager do? An option is saying ask the team to change the plan, ask the team to do this, ask the team to do that. Not good. Adding controls, bad choice. What is adding control? See, adding control means you are facing a problem. They've given you a problem and they're asking you, sorry, what would be the solution? Right? And you are selecting an option that we will implement a checklist. Bad choice. Or you are saying that we will ensure that it goes through 3 levels of check. Bad choice. Or you are saying that every time a decision is made, it must always go through product manager. Bad choice. Why? Because these are extra processes. These are extra checks. These are called waste in lean. These are not helpful. What you need to do is discuss and figure out what could be the solution rather than continuously adding checkpoints. And only if this happens, then I'll do this. Otherwise, what will happen? Just imagine from the same PMP certification preparation point of view. If you say that, okay, you join my training course, and I tell you that every time you study something, I will check whether you have studied this or not. And only then you can move ahead. What will happen? You will become dependent on me. If I'm available, I can check. If I'm not available, you are stuck. Right? So although it could be a good choice that a trainer is always checking whether you can move ahead or not, but you're not dependent on that. Right? What should be done instead? Instead, we should provide you mock exam with solution, with explanation, with guidance, with sessions like this, so that you yourself can decide whether you're moving ahead in the right direction or not. Right? Developing the team's skill set is much better than putting a checklist and saying that I will check every time when you do something. Not a good choice. Any option when you see they are looking for solution and they're saying adding a process, adding a checklist, adding a checkpoint, adding a control, not a good choice. Okay, centralized decision. One person will take all the decision. Very bad choice. Whether it is project manager, whether it is a team lead, whether it is sponsor, whether it is the management of the company, or as I said, prime minister or president of the country. One person taking decision is a bad choice. We should not do that, especially in project. Okay, so that was about collaborative leadership. Let me see if there is any question, and then we'll talk about strategic thinking. Do we have something called knowledge sharing register in PMI? Knowledge sharing register. I have not heard of it. I don't remember it. If you are in a doubt, the best way to check is PMBOK. Okay, download the PMBOK 8. PDF will be there. Control F, search for it. Knowledge sharing register. If you see it, it is a part of PMI. If you don't see it, it is not a part of PMI. As such, I don't remember if there's something called knowledge sharing register. Should we bring together or talk to them separately to understand the disagreement? No, never talk to them separately. See, once you start talking to them separately, what will happen is that people will think that you are biased. Two people are having conflict. You said, I will talk to them separately. Whom will you talk to first? Right? If you choose person A, person B will complain. Why is he talking to person A first? Why is she talking to person A first? Right? If you talk to person B, person A will complain. Right? So to avoid that bias, you should always talk together. Leadership, think of it is as very similar to parenting. If there are two kids, right? Both want something and there is a fight between them, there is a quarrel between them. Right? In order to resolve it, will you say that I'll talk to this my kid number one first and then kid number two? Never a good choice, right? The kids will start blaming that you favor that kid, this and that. Same thing will happen with team. They'll start blaming that you favor that person. That's why you're talking to them first. Don't do that. We don't have to discuss separately. It's time consuming. It's issues. What will also happen is you talk to person A, you understand thing. You talk to person B, you understand thing. Then you again go and talk to person A because B said something that you need to talk to A. Then A will say something you will have to talk. So it will become a time consuming activity. Best bring together, discuss face to face, solve it at that point of time itself. Right. So don't discuss separately, discuss together. Do you have any videos or any suggestion on integration and removing impediments? Those are two topics I've struggled on in the PMI study hall quizzes. Removing impediments, there is a problem solving that we have just discussed. I mean, whatever we have discussed for problem solving is good enough for solving any question that is there. Okay, so that should help you. Otherwise, we have not made a separate video on impediments as such. Problem solving, whatever we have discussed is good enough. It will help you solve the problem. Integration basically means that you are bringing different part of the projects together. Okay. So it could be plan, it could be decisions that are being taken separately in silos, and your job as a project manager is to bring everything together. Now, this is what I can say at this point of time. If you have any specific thing to discuss, you can send us an email. Right? It's contact@adjust.org. I'll mention it in the chat box. Right? You can send me an email and we can discuss around that specifically if you're facing any problem. All right. So now the last part of today's discussion, strategic thinking. What does strategic thinking mean? It basically means that there's one level called execution, where you are running the project, managing the project. There's another level which is strategic at the organization level. At the organization level, multiple projects are happening. Right? So your job is to align your project to the organization's objective. Right? So there's a bigger umbrella within which there are multiple projects. Every project manager needs to align their project to the organization's objective. That's what strategic thinking is. Understand what organization goals are. Right? Connect your execution to the business objective. Focus on delivering value. Ensure that you are evaluating the long-term impact also, not only focused on one thing at hand, but thinking about how this will impact project in future, how this will impact my organization, how this will impact some other project, right? So you have to think about that. We make decisions that support our organization strategy and balance the competing priorities for maximum benefit. The whole idea here is, if I have to summarize this, whenever you take a decision in the project, think about whether it is aligned to my organization's processes and policies or not, and think about whether it is helping my organization or not. If not, then don't take that decision. If you think that, okay, I'm taking a decision which is in silo only for the project, not considering other project, not considering the organization, might not be a good choice. Let us try to see what I'm talking about. Okay. Whenever you take a decision, what business objective is supported? Will it create any value or not? What are the trade-offs? If I do this, where will I lose? What is the cost? What is the benefit? And then decide. What options best support the organization's goals? Right? So if I'm taking this decision, how will it impact my organization's goal? And how will it impact the long-term success of the project or the organization? That's what strategic thinking is. Right? As a project manager, I'm not only worried that I should deliver on time. I should deliver within the budget. I'm also very, very careful that whatever my actions are will impact my organization as well. That's what strategic thinking is. Right? Many people say, what is changing in the new exam in 2026? This is what is changing. Right? Project manager's role has evolved from only executing the work to executing the work and ensuring that strategic thinking is also implemented, ensuring that organization is also benefited with that, ensuring that project manager has the business acumen, business knowledge, business understanding, business intelligence to decide with the team, of course, how it will impact the organization as well. That's how project management has evolved. Right? Now you have to think about organization also. You have to think about a strategy as well. You have to think at the business level as well. Right? That's what strategic thinking is. Will definitely be tested in the exam. So what will be tested? A customer requests a new feature. Now this feature will increase the scope, but will also significantly improve customer adoption. What will you do? Right? See, sometimes what happens is if I see the scenario, okay, it will significantly improve the customer adoption. I must do this. And I select an option, okay, implement this. No, I would still assess. I will still understand the impact and then together decide what would be the appropriate action here. And if there has to be any change, it must go through the change control process. Okay. Market conditions have changed. Sorry. Market conditions have changed. The project is progressing well, but expected benefits are decreasing. Project is going well, but whatever benefits that we were looking for, that is decreasing. What will I do? I'll go back to my business case. I'll try to understand what were the values that we were supposed to deliver from this project. Right? And then need to sit with the strategic team, need to sit with the management and decide, is the project still supporting the objective or do we need to terminate it? Yes, very much possible. There are many, many projects that starts with an expectation, but if you're not able to deliver value, it is better to stop the project. Right? But you will not take that decision. As a project manager, you can discuss with management, discuss with stakeholders. Together, they will decide whether they have to stop, terminate the project or not. Okay. Multiple stakeholder request additional functionality and resources are limited. What should I do? I will collaborate with stakeholders, try to understand why they're asking so, and then discuss what is the priority that we need to work on because our resources are less. So I cannot do all 10 things. Tell me what is the most important thing first. That's what we will do first. Right? Value-oriented thinking. I'm always prioritizing according to what will deliver maximum value in the project. Okay. The product owner must decide which feature go into next release. Right? Again, there's a scenario that there's a product owner who is saying that, okay, these are the features which we need to send in the next release. What should we do? Again, prioritize, discuss with the product owner and let them decide based on the business value. The organization must choose between a customer requested feature or a regulatory compliance enhancement. What will you do? Whatever the customer is asking or what the regulatory compliance is. You are stuck between this. How will you decide? You don't have to decide. That's the beauty of the PMP certification exam. You don't have to always solve the problem. You don't have to always decide. What you need to do is assess which one will help the project the most, which one will help the organization the most, and then decide. Right? So strategic thinking basically means aligning my project work to my organization. Will this be tested? 100%. Right? So how will you identify the good and bad choices here? Any option that talks about business value, aligning with strategy, prioritizing based on value, reassessing the changing conditions and then deciding, or long-term thinking. These are all good choices. Right? Keep this in mind. Value or business value is a very, very important factor. Right? In fact, the definition of project that PMI used to talk about earlier, that has also changed and they have incorporated that it is a temporary and unique effort to deliver value. It is that important. Earlier, deliver value was not a part of definition, but it is so important that you will definitely be tested on this. As a product manager, you are not only responsible to deliver on time, deliver on budget, right? But you are also responsible to ensure that whatever you are delivering is useful, right? I create an office space, and instead of having a furniture placed in a way that we are facing each other, we have placed the furniture in a way that is placed in seminar hall or a cinema theater or in a sports arena. Right? If you put the benches like that, people will not sit in office and they will not be productive. In office, people need to face one another, talk to one another, and then they become productive. Right? So when I'm managing a project where I have to set up an office space, and if they have given a seminar hall type sitting in the office space, I will ask the question to the architect. I will not say, okay, whatever the architect has given, I'll build this. That's my job. No, right? Project manager cannot keep a blind eye to things which are not aligned to the project's objective and still do it, right? So focusing only on deliverables, bad choice. Working in silos. Silos means department compartment wise. I am only focused on this. I don't care about other project. I don't care about what is happening in the organization. I will do my project in the best way possible, and that's what I have to do. I will deliver on time. That's my only objective. Bad project management. Okay. Prioritizing based not based on value, but on based on the politics. What is politics? Politics basically means because my sponsor said so, because my boss said so, because my executive management said so. If they said so, I have to do it. No, you don't have to do it. See, you are a project manager, they are paying you the salary to ask questions, to ensure that the project is successful, not to just accept whatever they are saying. If that was the case, they would have not kept a project manager. They would have directly told things to team and team will do it. There's a project manager in between the management and team for a reason, to add value, to ensure that whatever management is thinking is assessed, is analyzed, and then we take decision. Many a times I have seen people saying that, okay, sponsor said so, how can we say no? It may be happening in your company, but that's not a good culture. A better culture is, yes, I accept. We don't have to be rude. We don't have to be dismissive of anything. We have to say that, yes, I do understand your point. Let me assess, let me analyze the impact on the project. Let me understand what you are saying. And if it is going to be helpful, we'll do it. If it is not going to be helpful, I'll not reject it. But I'll again come back to you. I'll talk to you that, hey, this is my understanding. It will not be helpful for the project, so that together we can decide to not do it. Right? Also, a project manager who follows the plans blindly, any option that says that we are doing it because it was in the plan. The scenario is talking about a change, but we'll stick to the plan. Not a good choice. Right? And also thinking only about immediate task at hand, whatever I have at hand. I'm not thinking about the long-term perspective. Not a good choice. Right? So as you can see, anything short-term, anything focused on only one task, anything saying that I'll focus only on my job, not a good choice. Right? So these are not good choices. These are good choices. You will see these in the exam, right? Of course, not written exactly like this, but you will see this in exam, and I hope that you will be able to compare and decide the better ones. Now, what you should do next, right? Before we talk about what you should do, just quickly summarizing whatever we have discussed. Okay. First, always involve people in discussions, decision making, problem solving. Involving people is the best thing that you can do in the PMP exam. Any option that talks about collaboration, facilitation, meeting is generally a good choice. It's not always correct, but generally a good choice. So if you're stuck, always choose that. Also, support your team in performing their best. Right? It's not that team is self-organizing, so they know what to do. You have to help them. Still, you have to help them become self-organizing. They're not automatically self-organizing. Okay. Then do not dictate the terms. Don't tell them what is to be done. Collaborate and then decide. Do not escalate prematurely. Any option that says escalate to sponsor, escalate to functional manager, escalate to this, just be a little bit critical about it. Do I really need to escalate or can I solve it? Most of the times, 99% of the times, you will be able to solve it because escalation is always the last resort. Now, this one sentence will help you solve a lot of questions in the exam. Whatever the situation given, the option that says, we are trying to understand the situation, understand the problem, understand the change, understand the scenario is always a better choice. So conducting a meeting, discussing with stakeholder, discussing with customer is a better choice. Then after that, we need to analyze for impact. Once you have understood the change, once you have understood the problem, once you have understood the scenario, you need to understand or analyze how will it impact my project positively or negatively. Right? So once you have understood the impact, you will come to know how big this is. And then it will be better for you to decide the solution. Right? Keep this in mind always. First understand, then analyze, and then decide. Once you have decided, you can act on it. You also need to keep the stakeholders engaged and involved throughout the project. Don't leave them alone. Don't ignore their concerns. Talk to them, discuss with them regularly, and ensure that you have kept them engaged. Very important for strategic thinking, align your work to the business objective and organizational strategy. These are the points that we repetitively saw, right? And it was purposefully done. It's not that I have deliberately only put those points. It was purposefully done because you have to see different scenarios in different light to be able to implement that in your exam. Okay. So this is the end of our discussion. What I would suggest you to do next is that you solve task-wise questions from people domain, right? If you have already purchased our mock exams, then it is available. There's a test on people domain separately, and there are all 35 tasks from the previous project, from the current PMP exam is already done. So there are task-wise questions, there are people domain questions. You can practice that. Now, what you need to do while you're practicing it is review the answers and explanations well. And this PPT converted into PDF will be available on the description. Okay. Download this. If possible, take a print of it. Keep it side by side. If not possible, just keep it on a different system, maybe on a mobile phone, and you study on laptop. Keep both the things side by side and try to map it. Okay, this is the question that I solved. This is what the explanation is saying. And this is the mindset that Amit was talking about. So it matches that. If you do it for even 20, 30 questions, don't do it for 500 questions, right? May be a waste of time. Do it for 30, 40, 50 questions, but do it well. And you will be able to recollect these mindset points very, very well. Okay. While you're doing that, if you think that there are some points that I need to add in that print, add those points, right? Ultimately, you should have your own list of things that you have to keep in mind when you are taking the exam. That would be the best thing to do for your preparation, right? So please do this, right? Solve the questions, try to recollect through this mindset, and your effort related to people domain would be over. Today is what? Tuesday? Within the next 3-4 days in the weekend, try to do all these things, try to solve more people domain questions, and you will be prepared for people domain. You will not need to uh, remember concepts, formulas, terms, and techniques for people domain. You will not need that. Just solve the questions, understand the explanations, and compare it with this sheet. Okay, that will be good enough. And then next week, I'll meet you for process domain discussion. Okay. If you have any question at any point of time, if you have my contact number, you can always reach out to me, or you can send me an email on contact@adjust.org. Just a second. There's some problem in writing today. I have mentioned that in the comment box, by the way. It is contact@adjust, this adjust.org. I'll mention in the description also. If you have any questions, you can always share that with me. If you want to purchase the mock exam, it's available on our website. If you don't have the access to it, we have given all the task-wise questions. There are 20, 30 questions per task that you can practice, and you will be able to see that task by task you are making improvement. For now, I will see you on 16th with process domain mindset. And before we close, I'll take some questions, whatever is there, and then we'll close. I thought I was doing all correct in people. What may I have lost? I may have passed if this video came early. All the best for your preparation. Just go through this domain, and if you have any question, please do talk to me. If you want to share your result with me and have a discussion around that result, I'm available for that also. We can do that. Point is that identify which were the tasks where your score was low, PMI gives you a detailed report. You can download it from the website. Download the report in detail, see which tasks were not proper, and practice those tasks first, and then practice the remaining tasks. You should be able to improve it, and I hope that this video is helping you in that. The assessment to be done first and then update the CCB log. Yes, absolutely. Timings for next week, same time, 7:30 p.m. India time is when we will meet at the same time. PPT will be updated soon in some time. Okay, you will be able to download it. If you're not able to see it, just send me a message or an email. I'll send the PPT with you. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I hope that this session was helpful. Same way, we will talk about the process domain also. Of course, it will not only be about the skills. This time it will be about the processes, scope, schedule, cost, and other areas. So we'll be talking about all those things to help you understand what type of questions are asked from process domain and how do you answer that. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you next Tuesday.